This post that I made on X today was quite popular, and I thought I'd read you it out. This is the first time another man has ever been able to engorge my loins. If my missus walks in and sees me staring lovingly at my phone with an erection, then glances at the screen and sees an old English farmer in a barber jacket, my marriage is over. I was trying to get across humorously there that I've just had a flick through Restore's 113-page mass deportation policy, and Mr. Lowe described it as a work of art. I'm inclined to agree with him. Oh yes, it's a marvellous bit of kit. They say great works of art, really touch you emotionally, get you in the feels. And at the bottom of page 4, I was slightly more emotional than I was at my granddad's funeral. It was a profoundly moving experience. So let's have a read, shall we? Right, here's the document in full, all 113 pages. I'll put a link in the description if you want to read it for yourself. It's off their own website. And, look at that first page. Beautiful, isn't it? Eat your heart out, Andy Warhol. It's a masterpiece in modern art, that. Mass deportations, legitimacy, legality, and logistics by living legend Rupert Lowe. If I was to criticise any aspect of it, it'd be the plane on the front cover. We could use a bathtub. We could mount a gigantic trebuchet in Dover and launch them in groups of 50 straight back over to France. I mean, they can try and catch them in a net. We'll leave that to the French. The point I'm getting at is it could have been a little bit more cost-effective, my solution, but I'll let that slide for now. Harrison Pitt, I'm sure you've all seen him on the New Culture Forum, he's a great lad, and Rupert Lowe wrote it. They said the wider team, composed of policy experts from across a range of relevant topical fields, also assisted. Look at these 2 paragraphs here. Amazing stuff. It says it is finally beginning to be understood that there is nothing at all radical about mass deportations. Now the settled view of the British people, it is the bare minimum that we have a right to expect in a law-governed country built by us and for us. And nothing unreasonable about that is the law. I've said this for years. If your very first act is to break into the country illegally, you are a criminal, definitely. My missus moved to the UK legally. She went through all the paperwork because she wouldn't dream of doing it illegally. And I moved to the United States legally because I wouldn't dream of just turning up on holiday and then overstaying my visa. This was a big story recently when some Irish fella did it and everybody was like, yeah, get out. You're a criminal. The weird thing is, all of the left seemed happy with that. It was a chance to point at a white criminal. Ooh, look at this dirty criminal. How come he can break in? Well, he can't. We're advocating throwing him out on his arse. Thanks. I'm serious. It speaks to your character. I would never dream of being an illegal immigrant. I never thought of just coming to America and going, oh, I'll just stay then. There's a process. If your first act when moving to a new country is to break the law, you are a criminal. And I would posit that you're probably far, far, far more likely you're of the character where you'll break the law more. I mean, that's just some straws in the wind that I'm throwing out there. But everyone I know who has that sort of internal good character where you don't like to break the law, they wouldn't break the law to go to a country and overstay a visa. They just wouldn't do it. I think if you're the type of person that's happy to break into a country illegally, you're probably a lot more likely to, break into an old lady's house, empty a biscuit tin into your knapsack, and then shit on a kitchen floor for no reason at all. Anyway, moving on. Up until this point, the fear has been that such ambitions are unrealistic and that such a policy is impossible. Perhaps most importantly of all, Restore Britain's paper demonstrates in no uncertain terms that mass deportations are not only possible, but necessary for our nation's survival. 100% correct. At the foot of the first chapter is this sentence here, which is, if you know what's shocking to me about this? Nigel. I suspect, and I've always thought that Nigel in his personal life is probably very right-wing. I think he's scared of pushing too far away from the centre because he's a political animal. Like most proper politicians, he's self-serving and he's probably really interested in power. But the one thing about this sentence that strikes me is 99.5% of Restore's members voted in favour of deporting all illegal migrants, and we have taken their instruction in order to launch this unique campaign. What percentage of the Reform membership do you think doesn't think that? What percentage? Do you honestly think, if they were to ask Reform members, do you think we should deport all illegal immigrants? Do you honestly think the number would be any different? Law-abiding people unequivocally support throwing illegals out on their arse. That number would be the same in Reform, and it'd probably be 65% in the Conservative Party, in the wet, limp-wristed left-wing Conservative Party. This has been the opinion of the British public for 40 years, and that is why it's such a disgusting, disgraceful, despicable, and lots of other things beginning with D, dog shit, trick by the Conservatives, Labour, and the Lib Dems and everybody else, SNP, Plaid Cymru, all of them. That's why it's such a disgraceful thing that they've all done to us. The general public has been telling them we want less immigration. Everyone was telling them when Blair was in. Mandelson and Blair admitted it and said, oh yeah, we got it wrong on immigration. And what did they do about it? Less than f*** all. That's what they did about it. So it's nice to see, finally, somebody's listening and putting it out there in black and white. They then start on the legal obstacles and make the same basic points that everybody's been making for years. We don't really have national sovereignty because we are at the whims of the Europeans and, to a lesser extent, the UN and all these other globalist organisations that tell us what we can and can't do in our own country. They start off by listing an important list of domestic laws that need to be repealed and amended, and you know we can do this because with a proper majority, the UK Parliament is completely sovereign and they can just rip it all up for arsehole paper, just like Tony Blair did, the slithering, slippery arsehole that he is. They said they will bring an end to the Equality Act, God bless them, pull out of the UN Refugee Convention of 1951, because that's a load of shite, and every man and his dog can claim to be a refugee. We've got refugees from Algeria and Morocco. We've got refugees who go home on holiday twice a year. Think of that. You have to have serious brain damage to think that you're a refugee and then you go back on holiday. And I'm from Middlesbrough. I've probably got more right to claim to be a refugee than someone from Morocco, because I guarantee Morocco sees more holidaymakers in a year, tourists, than Middlesbrough does, doesn't it? Millions of people go to Morocco on holiday. 0 humans on planet Earth have ever chose to visit Middlesbrough for pleasure. Think about it. They then discuss the dreaded ECHR and say that they can repeal that, and it does nothing to breach the terms of our post-Brexit trading agreement or anything like that. And then they even, God, they're thinking of everything. They even say they're going to tackle judicial activism, a major block to national sovereignty. As I said, these activists, these purple-haired, morbidly obese, coach bolt through the tongue, arse like the back end of a bus, wankers who stand outside courts and police stations and parliament and anything else all day, banging drums and blowing horns and shouting at people because none of them work for a living. They need to be tackled head on, and Mr. Law said he's going to do it. They then move on to the practical logistics of doing it, and even give us a timeline. Observe. Inspired in many ways by the second Trump administration, we call for a hostile environment to encourage self-deportations, combined with somewhere in the region of 150 to 200,000 forced deportations every year, assuming a conservative ratio of 3 to 1, together with similarly conservative annual averages. It would take exactly 3 years to deport all of the roughly 1.8 million illegals we believe to be living in our midst. Our preferred realistic estimate, developed towards the end of Section 8, puts the full length of mass deportations at an even more encouraging 2 years and 5 months. Brilliant. They talk about fostering a culture of voluntary returns. It works. It works a treat. Trump's done it. Millions of them have self-deported. I've seen the commercials on TV. Go home, arsehole. It's brilliant. You just tell them you're better off going on your own, under your own steam with all your stuff, before we come round, clamp you in irons, and then throw all your shit in the sea. Brilliant. You can see why it works. I love these numbers on national support for mass deportations, by the way. North East, most based region. God bless them. Look, those pissant Scots, only 60% of them are sensible. North East, 72.6. We are the most based people in the UK, as usual. Yes, the only thing your average Geordie reads in a year is the back of the cereal box, but still, sensible people. They then discuss all the legal obstacles that they're going to repeal. I won't bore you with that. And then conclude with, nice and succinctly, these 2 points. 2 hard facts that have to be accepted. 1, the legal architecture matters, and it points out that if Parliament, which is supposed to represent the will of the people, and the people are aggressively against immigration at this point, and they have been for decades, if they want to make it happen, they can make it happen. The lefties lying on television about, oh, well, I'd love to do this, but it's illegal, is bollocks. It is total bollocks. We have a sovereign parliament. We can do whatever we want. The Trump administration's proved it. Instead of worrying about what they're going to say, just do it. Pull out the ECHR, round up all the kiddie fiddlers and everybody else that they say, oh, well, we'd like to deport the multiple surprise sex enthusiasts, but we can't because it's the law. We are the law, to sort of bastardize a Judge Dredd quote. We are the law. Sovereign Parliament can do as it pleases. Every single filthy sexual deviant that's entered the UK in the last 25 years from foreign shores can and will get stuck on a plane, boat, dinghy, bathtub, trebuchet. I don't care what the method of delivery is to get them out and return them to their shitholes of origin. And if they want to argue about it, the good thing about being a do-gooder country that throws money at people all the time is you can tie it to their aid. We give money to everyone. If the Pakistanis say, oh, well, we'd like to take him, but we just can't, we say, you can and you will, or you're not getting your £3 billion in free money this year. All right? Easy. Oh, yeah, and then they say practical delivery is achievable, but challenging. No, it's achievable. Easy. It's not even challenging. They'd be lining up. Do you know how many people would line up to take a job? In Middlesbrough, if you said to the locals, who wants 30 grand a year for folding up miscreants from across the third world, folding them up and flinging them on planes, I'd pay them to do it. I'd be an unpaid volunteer on Saturdays to help sling these people out. I think most people think it's the civic duty at this point. It won't be challenging. It won't. Stop giving them money, cut off all the benefits, create that hostile environment. Millions of them will go somewhere else, like Scandinavia, or back to France or Spain, or anywhere where there's lefty arseholes in charge, giving them money for free. They will flock to those places in droves, and millions of them will self-deport. And the ones who don't want to self-deport, we will happily twist them up, drag them to the airport, and send them on their merry way. All right? This is a fantastic read. I'll put a link down there for you all to check out. Trust me, if you haven't got a bit of blood in it, if you're not tent pegging your shorts by the end of it, you're not paying attention. All right? Let me know what you think in the comments down below, and I'll see you all tomorrow. All right? Thanks for tuning in. Toodle pip. Cheers.